Today on Com Talk, we're taking a look at Batman by Gaslight.
Glix, what is going on?
We are receiving a signal from a new area on the planet Geekery.
All right, let's see what the planet has for us today.
Opening comms in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, devoted geeks, and welcome to Com Talk, podcast extension of Geek Devotion, the show for devoted geeks who are devoted to let you know you're loved. I'm Dallas. I'm so glad to have you guys with us for episode 186 of the podcast. With me is my beautiful bride,
Celeste.
How's it
Hello.
going, love?
It's good.
Good. So we are in preparation, in time frame, getting ready for the what's we're looking for? Season 9.
Season 9. We're about to start season 9
of Geek Devotions as a whole. And what is our theme for season 9, Celeste?
I don't know if we have a cool name for it yet, but Batman.
Yeah. Batman month. We need to figure out something cool.
Yeah, because I feel like Batman month is kind of lame.
Yeah.
I mean, this is in celebration of 8 solid years.
Mm-hmm.
So we should probably have something that's kind of cool.
I just realized we probably should have themed it after Spider-Man.
Why Spider-Man?
8 years, 8 legs.
No.
Spider.
No.
Well, too late. We're doing Batman.
That is the daddest of dad jokes. So no.
So Branson would have appreciated it, especially since he's launching a new podcast. Anyways, we're talking about Batman, and we're kind of getting ready for it. And one of the things we're going to be talking about in next month is a brand new Elseworlds series called Gotham by Gaslight. What is it called? Kryptonite Days? What era of the Kryptonite? What is it?
Age of the Kryptonite.
Age of Kryptonite. And it's an Elseworlds series.
Oh,
and
no. I'm sorry. The Kryptonian-age.
The Kryptonian-age. That's right. And it's a sequel to Gotham by Gaslight, the comic. And I'm going to talk about that then. So I was like, well, you know what? We should talk about the original one. And we were kind of talking through it. I was thinking through it, and here's what we're doing, guys. Here's the plan. Ready for the plan? There's a plan. There's a plan, and we're going to throw it out later. But this is the plan right now. So here's the plan, guys. We are going to. There's a movie, Gotham by Gaslight.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the comic book, Gotham by Gaslight. And then there's the original sequel called Batman, Master of the Future. And then there's this new sequel series to it. So here is the plan of action. Today we're going to talk about the movie, Gotham by Gaslight.
Yep.
And in the background, secretly, I'm going to read and review Gotham by Gaslight, the comic, and the sequel series, Master of the Future. And we'll be publishing to our patrons those reviews.
Yep.
Both in audio and video and written version. And in preparation for what's coming up. And then next month, during the actual Batman month, we will put those out properly. Along with a review what's we're looking for? Probably a devotion of the comic.
Probably a devotion. Definitely a reaction. Because it's not... The comic is not going to be done by the time you do everything. So
I think it's like a 10-issue run, the new comic.
Yeah, I think that's what we were told. So it's interesting. I think it's funny though, or maybe it's on purpose, and we can get into this a little later. Maybe, I don't know. But you said that the Gotham by Gaslight was the first Elseworlds.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they've booted up the Elseworlds again, because it's not just Gotham by Gaslight. They've booted up Elseworld stories again, which, as y'all know, makes Dallas super happy and makes my wallet go.
I'm not collecting all the books, just the Batman by Gaslight.
And I'm it was a joke. It was a joke, babe.
Oh my goodness. So that's what we're doing. And but what way we're going to review these is Each one we're going to review as a standalone.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to look at the other materials. And that's on purpose. And I'm going to do a comparison between the comic and the movie next month. So that's the general plan of action here. And
Just so you know what we're thinking.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like those of you who are new to all this stuff,
Hello.
Elseworlds is a series of comics that DC did. Basically, they went to some of their creators like, hey, here's a property, Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, whatever. Do something fun. Drop them into, Victorian time frame. Drop Superman into Soviet Russia. All these things, right? I think there was one where Batman was actually raised as a priest. In fact, it is. I have it. But anyways, so all these origin stories are just different, and I love it because it's creativity. They're having fun and doing some stuff. So that being said, Gotham by Gaslight is a book dash movie about Victorian-age Gotham, and there's Jack the Ripper. In fact, the IMDb description says, in an alternative Victorian-age Gotham City, Batman begins his war on crime while he investigates a new series of murders by Jack the Ripper. That's literally all they give you.
Yep. I mean, that's the general plot of the movie, so that's all you really need.
Oh yeah. So, and there's some really good, some solid voice actors here. You have Bruce Greenwood, who Celeste will know as Pike from Star Trek.
Yep.
He was also in iRobot.
Oh.
And he was in several things. He played Batman in Death in the Family.
We haven't watched that one yet, have we?
Batman. You have it. I have.
Okay.
He was also in The Kingsman as the President of the United States.
We haven't seen the one where they go to the United States.
Oh, we haven't, have we?
Mm-mm.
So, but he's Batman, and then you have Jennifer Carpenter, who is Catwoman, and that's again, we're not, for those of you who have read the comics, please do not start critiquing this according to this character list and stuff that we're saying, because I know they're like, but that's not right. Hold on, we'll talk about that next month. We're judging this as its own situation.
Was Catwoman not in the comic?
Okay, so reminder: I haven't read this in probably before we got married.
Okay.
Before we got engaged.
Okay, so a while back.
A while back, and I'm only a few pages into the comic right now.
I just, because you put that preface there, and I'm like, I don't.
We're going to talk about a lot of characters who I know for a fact are not in the book. And it ticks people off, like Ivy. Holy crap. Guess who played Alfred?
Who?
In this book? Anthony Head.
Anthony Head.
He played Giles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Giles!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! That tracks. That tracks.
Yep. So a lot of interesting individuals in this entirety of this whole thing. So we're going to start off with a spoiler-free conversation, and then we'll do a commercial break. When we come back, we'll go into the spoil stuff. So Celeste, are you ready to rock and roll with this?
All night.
All right. Well, not all night. I want to go to bed later.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Celeste, let's talk about some spoil-free stuff. What were your thoughts on it?
It was a fun story.
Yeah.
I like, as much of a completionist as I am, I enjoy these Elseworld stories because they play with things. And I don't have to have seen or read all of the things to be able to understand what's going on. Like, I have enough of a base knowledge of Batman to be able to go, oh, that's a cute nod.
Yeah. It is a interesting change of it. It's introducing the Jack the Ripper stuff to it, but the way that this specifically peppers in the references to things into it, I found that fun. Like, there's one reference, I have my notes written down here. They wanted them to search Cape Carmine,
Yeah.
as in the Carmine family. And then you have these 3 orphan boys who are the 3 Robins.
Yeah. The fact that there was a character who you don't know their name, but she ends up being a Marconi.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just to, again, little nods of going, this is the same world, but not the same world at the same time.
Exactly.
Like, there will always be a Marconi. There will always be the Carmines. There will always be Robins.
Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things sprinkled out throughout everything, and I appreciated that. I think visually it was beautiful. There were some scenes. They played with the dark and light quite a bit, and I appreciated that. It gave me a lot of heavy Batman the Animated Series vibes to it.
Yeah, I could see that. I will say some of the animation that I thought was interesting is that the way they were drawn, they didn't have pupils, like the eyes. That's just the art style, except for Selena.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
She was the only character that had pupils.
That's true. She was, wasn't she? I wonder what that was.
I think it's because they were trying to play up the catness of her, because it wasn't even like normal pupils. It was the up and down like you see within Cat's Eye. So that's my thought as to why they did that, because all the rest of them, it's that Batman the Animated Series style art where it's just kind of a color, not a like there's some shading, but there's not a distinguished
they don't put as
pupil.
much detail in the eyes. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at images from it. I'm like, yeah, you're not joking about that.
No, I'm not.
So that's a great deal. I had not noticed that. That's interesting. So trying to think what else we could talk about the spoil free, because a lot of it's spoilers.
Some of the character design was interesting.
Yeah, in what way?
Well, like Ivy, the fact that Selena was there, and just seeing them in the Victorian mindset. So you had Selena, where she's being the nice, proper Victorian lady, and then all of a sudden things happen.
Suffrage Victorian lady.
Oh yes. Very that also tracks with her personality though. But then something happens, and all of a sudden she's pulling out a whip. And so you're like, okay, there's Catwoman.
Yeah. There's a lot of like little nods, like even like when you had the 3 Robins, like even what they were doing was it was interesting how they brought in their identity. Like, so you had Dick, and he had like a pipe, and if in the comics as Nightwing he uses sticks. Jason was using a knife, and then Tim was using a cue stick. And so it was interesting for them to pare down their identities. What did you think of the bat suit? I thought that was an interesting decision.
The bat suit to me didn't look that much different than some other suits I've seen, if that makes sense. Like, it's not the current Batman suit. It's not any of the Batman suits from the movies, but it's also not that different. To me, I actually had issue with it because it didn't look Victorian enough.
Oh, really?
I feel like they really could have played up the steampunk angle. Because that's the era that steampunk is from. So they really could have played with that and highlighted that a lot more.
And I can see that. At the same time, it did have like, I feel like it was more grounded. Like, it felt like it was something that was made more so than not. You had the gentleman's like cape that they wore, and the shirt itself had that side button up thing that they would do. And it felt very grounded for the world. At least they had some steampunkish stuff to it, though. You pull up the little gun for the batarang stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things of Batman always has cool gadgets. So I was disappointed because the technology of the time, that's what it would have been. Now he pulls out the bike at some point, which I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. I mean, it is, but it's not. He gets on the Bat bike. That was more of what I was looking for, because the way that was done looked more steampunkish.
I gotcha. Yeah, I can see that.
So, but yeah, you are right that the outfit was very grounded in reality. I was just not looking for it to be grounded in reality. I
don't come to comics for reality, Dallas.
I was just going, okay, this is a Victorian era and it's Batman. He's got all the gadgets, so that's going to be powered by steam.
But honestly, the fact that it wasn't so gadget ridden
Mm-hmm.
kind of helped because it played more into that. Again, this is one of the things I loved. You guys will remember if you guys listened to the bottom shelf when we reviewed the Batman. It plays more into the detective story of him investigating and he's talking through the evidence and stuff like that. I appreciated that aspect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I appreciated that story, but at the same time, I don't know. I just was expecting it to be more of what more steampunk than it was.
Give me my steampunk. We need steampunk Batman.
I do. So
I get that. So all right. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into spoilers?
I think I'm good.
Okay. I want to tell you one thing real quick.
Okay.
Do you know who the actor was who voiced Commissioner Gordon?
No.
Scott Patterson.
Luke?
Yep.
Oh.
And with that information, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to a commercial break.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
General Romeo coming in, begin transmission. Should you accept it now, here's your mission. Take your pilot seat and turn on your television. Logging into the Gundam Watch. What is a Gundam? We're gonna answer that question. From back in the classics to the newer expansion. Explore the lore with Dallas and Branson. Welcome to the Gundam Watch. Moyagare, come and join the Gundam Watch. Arciniega, come and join the Gundam Watch. Come and join the Gundam Watch. Come and join the Gundam Watch. Brought to you by Geek Devotions comes another podcast to keep your feet in motion. Listening close and see what's all the commotion. Logging into the Gundam Watch. Dallas and Branson bringing the fandom to you with the passion of the veteran instructing the new. We're diving deep, but this ain't B's views and reviews. Welcome to the Gundam Watch.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage you guys. First off, check out our friends at Culture Box. We are a part of the Culture Box network. And on that network, we have the Cellcast, we have Retro Rewind Podcast, and several other great individuals. And then we also want to encourage you guys, make sure you guys check out the Gundam Watch. Branson and I are rock and roll some stuff coming up for you guys coming up this next year. We're excited about it. We're coming up on a year or a couple years actually of the Gundam Watch Celeste anniversary of it. So because it launched on my birthday.
It did.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as you guys may have heard at the end of the last segment, I broke Celeste's heart.
Did.
And you're going to find out why in this segment as we bring spoilers to you about this particular show. And let's jump into some spoiler discussion here. I'm not sure where to start with it, dear. Do you want to just break down the story as we go through, or what do you want to do?
Let's do that.
All right, so it opens up, and we're introduced to Ivy, and that's interesting. We kind of mentioned that. We're introduced to the three Robins, as they're just orphans that are there, but they're not really pertaining to the whole story. But the story itself, it's Bruce is coming back to Gotham from England, and he hears about there's a series of murders taking place. And he's basically investigating it from the ground up. And we have a couple characters in play. We have Harvey Dent, who is his best friend. We have Selena Kyle, Gordon, Dr. Hugo Strange, and a myriad of other characters. And so Bruce is basically just investigating this from the word go. And it's interesting to see how things play out. The Harvey character kind of comes off as a jerk.
Yeah, he does. And it's not so much that he comes across as a jerk as he comes across as what Bruce normally plays at being.
Mm-hmm.
and except without as much kindness.
Well, I mean, it's because again in the movie, he's fawning over Selena,
Yeah.
and even though he's married, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine." It was kind of this typical chauvinistic, like what you would think of as chauvinistic stuff,
Right.
and stuff that was legitimately a mindset back
Right.
then.
It's a
It-
product of the time.
Yeah, and and then when Selena and Bruce, it appears they're having a love affair, which they do. All of a sudden, he really turns. Like he was already kind of jealous. And Selena kind of pulls it off on the front end. She mentions that, after he has so many drinks, he's an entirely different person and kind of a Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Of course, Harvey Dent, Two-Face.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting portrayal of him as a character, but they did a good job of making me not like him.
I think that they were trying to give us a red herring with him because
Mhm.
Two-Face is the natural go-to with things like this. And you even said it looks like they're trying to do Hush with the
Mhm.
masks that
Mhm.
the Ripper was wearing.
Well, Hush is a different character also.
I
But yeah, you're
thought
right.
Hush was
Mm-mm.
oh,
I don't think Hush was Harvey Dent.
maybe that was just in the animated series that I watched.
Hush was Tommy Elliott, who was Thomas Elliott, who was another childhood friend of Bruce.
We watched an animated movie that was
They played with the idea. They suggest it could have been him.
yes.
So the whole thing with Hush was like there was like several people who could have been Hush. But you're right. There was a scene where like, are they playing with Hush a little
Yeah.
bit? And then there was like playing with Harvey a little bit. So, but yeah. So, and that's the thing. We're not going to reveal to you guys the actual Jack the Ripper until the end of this conversation. But as a whole, they did a great job of making me dislike him.
Oh yeah. Definitely. They played him up to, and again, it was a mindset of the time, but
Mm-hmm.
just to be a general person that you did not care for.
Mm-hmm. So throughout the entirety of the film, though, there are these little things like little great drops that they had in there, like Bruce like quoting one of his mentors, Sherlock Holmes or Houdini.
Which is funny because in the modern comics, it is hinted at some point that Sherlock is related to Bruce.
In some like distant
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Courtesy of
So-
Bobby Sizemore, that information.
But they did a good job of like grounding him in that world and learning some stuff. At first I thought maybe it was Hugo, what they were doing with Hugo Strange.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too. I thought that they were leading us away from Hugo with Dent.
Mhm.
But it was really Dent that was the thing. That was my first thought, is how they were going to play it.
Yeah, definitely. What'd you think of how they played up Selena though as a whole? You kind of talked about it on the front end, but like it's a very different character from the comics in a lot of ways.
It is.
At the same time, there's some undertones, but
They
what were you gonna say?
held to Selena.
Mhm.
They did not hold to Catwoman.
Yeah.
Because I've read some of the comics that were just Selena,
Mhm.
where she was off in like Italy. I think she
Mhm.
was trying to figure out who her dad was in that run, and
Yeah.
it was very much she was still stealing jewels, but she very much was a fight for the weaker, protect
Yeah.
the people who need protecting. Very much what Bruce does, just in a more Selena way.
That's a good way of saying it. Yeah. They did keep to the idea of Selena. And I think that's one of the things I appreciate is they didn't pull out the rogues gallery
Mm-hmm.
in a traditional like Ivy wasn't just full on Ivy. It was just it was a performer at a burlesque bar who wrapped herself in Ivy. Selena was Selena. And it wasn't the full on like this is XYZ
Right.
character as per se.
It was.
Which I think helped ground the story.
It did. It was more of a nod to the comics while telling its own story than it was a direct reference.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That is definitely a good way of putting that. So, trying to think of who else we should highlight in this. There was a cool scene with Batman, where it was after. Oh, let's talk about this. So they mentioned Leslie in
Yes.
this. Leslie, Dr. Leslie, in the comics, it's Dr. Leslie, and she works at there in the midst of the slums of Gotham. She's helping people. She's one of the few people who know who Bruce is. And in this, she's a nun, and she's taking care of basically orphans, widows, and prostitutes, the ladies who just can't, take care of themselves. And in fact, there was one lady that like she was like, I needed my medicine, and Leslie was like, I don't know where you hide your medicine, but that medicine will kill you, suggesting it's some sort of drug or alcohol
Yeah.
type of thing. And I liked how they played that, like transposing Leslie from a doctor to a nun who's running that kind of thing made sense to me.
Well, and especially considering that in that time frame, in historical time frame, if you were going to have, how do I put this? It was uncommon for your traditional woman to work, much less to go into the medical field. And so a lot of the nurses were the nuns.
Mm.
That is primarily what, like, you had your nuns that stayed in their convents and did their thing, but the show that I like to watch called The Midwife,
Yeah.
they have just as much knowledge as the doctor, but it's more experiential than
Right.
book. And so I thought that was a good call because it did fit historically with what was going on.
Yeah. So, which brings me to with Leslie, she was a target for Jack the Ripper.
Yep.
And at first I was struggling with that decision. I was genuinely struggling with that. And like cuz Jack the Ripper, he didn't go after virtuous women necessarily.
Right.
We find out later it makes sense, and I'll circle back to why she was a victim and why it makes sense. But Bruce was there. He's rushing to take care to try to help her because he realizes she's going to be a victim. And to me, that was heartbreaking to watch.
Yeah.
Because for Bruce, that was near because in this time frame, Leslie ran the orphanage that he lived in, and she basically helped raise him, taught him how to be virtuous, all those other things.
I don't know
But
if he lived there, but she helped Alfred with
yeah,
raising him.
yeah, and so but she losing her was like losing his mother again.
Yeah.
And that was sad. But then you see his response where he dives back into work.
Because
He's like, I have to avenge the city.
that's what Bruce does.
Mm-hmm.
I did
So-
appreciate that Alfred said that he goes, this is not what she would want.
Yeah.
And because legitimately that's not what she would have wanted as a character, but that's what was happening.
Yeah, definitely. It was Alfred, again, not a lot. Again, we had a very short time in this world, but
Yeah.
Alfred was he often was a voice of wisdom. He was a kind character throughout this entire time. He comes up and he sees Bruce bent over, and it looks like Bruce at first is crying or grieving, and he's trying to comfort him, but he's in his work and he realizes it's best not to break him from the work at the moment. And at the same time, he's being given this fatherly advice of like, Leslie wouldn't want you to have this revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when he's dealing with the Robins, of him like, I have work and I will feed you.
Yep.
Like he's caring for these boys. I really appreciated that aspect about him.
Well, and that to me is true to what we know of Alfred in general. Again, not holding to all of the same things that we know about the characters, but holding to their general essence. So while this may not be the Alfred that was served in whatever military op that Alfred was, but they kept him as a kind man, as someone who genuinely cared about the family and cared about Bruce.
Yeah. And I think you put that really well. He is the essence of it. And I think that's because a lot of people hated this. because it didn't fit the comic. And again, we're not judging this by the comic, but it, in a lot of ways, it fit the essence of the comics and the essence of the characters, except for one character.
For the most part, they did not make the characters do anything the characters would not do in normal timelines, for the most part.
Yeah. So, which I guess, should we go ahead and deal with the one character who was not right at all and was the character that we were both, that shocked me that they made the villain? Or do you have something else you want to talk about, Spoiled Field?
I don't have anything necessarily to talk about, unless you do.
No, we need to talk about this. The big villain, the big baddie.
If you still want to go watch this, maybe stop.
Pause this.
Stop. Don't listen.
So, for context, Bruce has been arrested. Selena knows who Bruce is, obviously. She goes to Bruce and she's like, hey, you have to tell them that you are Batman. He's like, I can't do it.
He was in jail.
Yeah, he was in jail. I can't do that. He says, she's like, well, I'm going to tell him that you're Batman. It's going to help you out. It's going to free you. So she goes off. So he comes with a plan to escape prison, starts a prison fight, escapes. She goes off to meet Commissioner Gordon at the police department, runs into Harvey Dent, who is a complete jerk. Complete another jerk. Calling her all kinds of foul things. And then she goes off to, they're having basically a World's Fair there in Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce goes to Gordon's house and he finds a secret door that opens up, and inside you discover that Gordon is the Ripper. Gordon has body parts that he's just cut out. You see that he was some sort of surgeon in the military, and he's a trained fighter, which is the conversation they had about this person. And it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. The idea that Gordon was the villain the entire, up to this point, Gordon was the essence of Gordon, like what you said earlier. But all of a sudden, it's like, what the crap? What were your thoughts in that moment, Celeste, when they revealed that?
On one hand, I was sitting here going, what the crap? Because that doesn't fit Gordon at all. But at the same time, it was the unlikely play. And so I can respect that, because it was not, we would not have suspected Gordon. We never suspect Gordon, because Gordon is Gordon, and we know that about him. And so by going, Gordon is the Ripper, it held to the theories of Jack the Ripper. I haven't like deep dived into it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have read some of the theories about who Jack the Ripper actually was, and it's always like, it's agreed upon that it is somebody that no one would have suspected.
Right.
So while it didn't hold true to the essence of Gordon, it did hold true to the essence of the overall story that was going on, and made Jack the Ripper more than just a plot device. Like, it made it something that actually affected this world.
Yeah, definitely. And now his reasoning for it, again, this is where it was weird. I was really trying to think through, because he's monologuing at the end like villains do, and he's explaining his reasoning. Basically, it's a matter of cleansing Gotham of its filth. And when he was in the military, basically, he felt like the prostitutes were the worst part of what was taking place. Them coming in and swaying men away, their minds, and bringing in disease and all kinds of stuff. And so he felt like he needed to eradicate it. Now, his mindset went way wild.
Yeah.
In this, he was an abuser. He abused his wife Barbara.
Yeah.
And then, but I was thinking about it, because I'm like, why the crap is he going after Leslie? And then I realized it's because in his mindset, it's complete wipeout of everything. And Leslie took care of all the people who were really destitute. She gave haven to the prostitute. She
Mhm.
gave haven to the orphans, and to those who were down their luck, who had turned to these things. Leslie was trying to be a light, and he wanted to just eradicate everyone.
Everything. It's one of those things of it was a and if this Gordon really was a surgeon, it makes sense because that you get rid of everything when
Mhm.
you're taking out a tumor. You
Mhm.
go around and take out some healthy tissue to make
Mhm.
sure that you've gotten everything. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what he was trying to do.
Yeah, his mindset was to just cut out the entirety of the thing that was cancerous.
We
And his
do.
mindset it was, huh?
We do not agree at
No,
all.
not at all. And I thought that was interesting parallel or dichotomy. Here you have Gordon, who his solution to it was cut them all out,
Mhm.
literally. Whereas Leslie, she was, let me create a place for you to heal and become whole and become who you need to be.
Yeah.
And that, of course, led to people like Bruce Wayne, this world's Selena Kyle, who on the back end were trying to come in to bring health to the area. Whereas Gordon's mindset was just cut it all out, which was not good at all. And it was sad. And there was a really great line at the end.
Mhm.
The whole place is burning down. The World's Fair is burning to the ground. And Bruce and Selena are talking, and they're like, it's a shame. It's all burning to the ground. And he's like, the hope of Gotham. And then one of the Robins, it might have been Dick. He's like, but it wasn't real. Maybe we can build back something better.
Yeah.
And that is such a beautiful mindset of was tearing down the facade and build something genuine,
Yeah.
honoring what Leslie was really doing, which was helping people to become better so they can build something real, really help people.
Yep. Because legitimately, the way she was looking at it is if she could help them and help them be better, then they could then help other people.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's not a quick method, it
Mhm.
is one that gives more hope to
Yeah.
people.
Definitely. She was genuinely living out what we read in James chapter 1, verse 27. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure, faultless is this: to look after the orphans and the widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. And Leslie, she did that. She kept herself pure, and she helped the widows, she helped the orphans, she helped those who were in need. And it was because she understood that by showing them hope, it could restore. It was like our friends over at the Orphans Hands.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Orphans Hands. I don't know if any of them will hear this podcast, but the Orphan Hands, it's a ministry, takes place in Moldova, and it's an orphanage. And there, in Moldova, it's like age 13, I think.
Yeah, something
Kids
like
are kicked out to the street and out of government orphanages. They stay until adulthood, and they're trained. They're equipped with skills in life, and a lot of them have come back, and they're actually now helping to run the orphanage. There are literally people running the orphanage who were once orphans themselves.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing of restoring people, giving them purpose. And their whole thing is, if you were born, you have a purpose. And that's what Leslie was doing. She looked at Selena and says, you have a purpose. And Selena came from a terrible background. Her dad was abusive and all kinds of things. And then she became what she was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she was rough around the edges. She wasn't perfect. And then Bruce was what he was. And then what's cool is at the end of the whole thing, here's Bruce with those 3 boys. And he has the opportunity to raise them, to do something right by these boys.
Yeah. And also, I feel like that if we were to follow this, Bruce, that the Robins would come out differently
Mm-hmm.
because they're all together.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is part of the Robin lore is that they're never there more than one at a time. Not as
Yeah.
children anyway.
Yep. All right. Well, Celeste, anything you want to add to this before we give our kind of final rating?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right. So, what were your final thoughts on Batman Gotham by Gaslight? Is it a good movie? Is it not a good movie? Would you recommend it?
It's a good movie. I would not recommend it for small children,
Yeah.
because there is some language.
Mhm.
That and the topic matter is murder.
Yeah.
But
Let's be frank. This is not a children's. This is
Yeah.
like teenagers and above.
yeah. I was about to say, but your teenagers should be able to handle it. There's not any. There is some graphicness and that there's blood splatter and what they're talking about, but not in visuals. So I would say for your teenagers, as long as you know they can handle stuff like that,
Yeah.
this would be a good talking point on,
Yeah.
hey, he's gone a little too far. This is not what we believe, and it's
Not a little too far. He went back crazy.
yeah, he did. But use it as a talking point, a discussion point.
Yeah.
And it was entertaining. It was fun to watch.
Mhm. Yeah. I'll put this caveat. In like the 10 seconds you see her on screen, Ivy is very sensual. She's not like naked or anything like that, but she's very sensual.
She has
And
an
so we'll
ivy
put that little caveat.
bikini.
She has an Ivy bikini. Yeah, we'll put that there. So, I'm gonna agree with you. I mean, it was I enjoyed it. It was interesting to see that world. It made sense.
Yeah.
I had to think through the whole Commissioner Gordon thing because I was coming at it with the mindset of this is Commissioner Gordon who I've known. It is, and it's not
No.
at all. And that was the biggest thing I was struggling with. But again, I'm having to remember this is an Elseworlds story.
Right.
They're doing something, and that legitimately they were trying to put something together that was going to keep you guessing.
And
Because the original book's like 50 pages long. There's not enough there for them to do a full movie, so they had to add stuff to it and make some things up. I know it made some people mad, but I liked it. I think it was good.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a thought and then it left my head, and I don't remember what I was going to say. It was something about Gordon,
Oh,
but I don't know. Just keep going.
how big he was.
I mean, he was a big old boy. But no, go ahead and finish up. I'll if I remember, I'll tell you.
Right. No, I mean that's basically it. I mean, love to hear from your guys' thoughts on the movie. If you guys have seen it. Again, we're not comparing it to the books.
Yeah.
And if you guys would like to hear my opinions on the books, like I said, I'm going to try to get these out this month, but we'll be releasing a review of each book to Patreon and audio and written out review. And next month in August, we'll be releasing those late August. And so something interesting to look into if you guys want to. If you guys want to have access to that, go to our website, geekdevotions.com, click on the support page and check that out. Celeste, any major announcements we want to make about things coming up down the pipeline?
There's a new episode of We Read Allegedly. There's a new episode of the Gundam Watch.
There's a new episode of The Bottom Shelf that came out.
That is also Batman. And
It is also Batman.
We will be heading to the Batman District for Com Talk.
Let's go.
We will not be staying as long as we did in the Superman District.
That was terrible.
So bad.
Oh my gosh. We also several things coming down the pipeline. I am working on a t-shirt design, and we're going to be trying to do some pre-orders and get them done, print up really nicely. And if you guys are going to if you want one of those, we'll have information out for you guys to pre-order. And first pickups will be at GeekCon. So if you order it, you got to let us know you're going to pick it up at GeekCon, and we'll go with that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to ship the rest of them afterwards. So if you don't want to have to pay for shipping, make sure you come to GeekCon.
pay the price of shipping or pay the price of a ticket.
And see so much more.
And get so much more.
So, but that's what we got going on, guys. And yeah, that's most of what we got going on for you guys. We genuinely, Celeste and I are thankful for you guys. Gosh, babe, we're coming up on this is gonna be our 9th season, 8 full years.
8 full years
of doing this. I went back and listened to our original Com Talk episodes. They're rough. They sound terrible.
The snowball. Oh no, not even the snowball. The first
No,
one
we
was
had
the
the-
lapel mic on the dinosaur.
Yeah. How about that mess? And they were rough. And hopefully this sounds better when I get it edited out. hopefully our episodes of Geek Devotions proper have been better for you guys. But thank you guys for believing in us and giving us the opportunity to speak life, to encourage you. And genuinely means a lot to Celeste and I.
Yeah.
And we love each one of you greatly. All right, babe. Is that it?
I think that's it.
All right. Land the plane.
Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to Calm Talk today. If you have loved this episode, head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to rate and leave a review. It is very much appreciated. So until next time, stay devoted.
Peace and love.